So we're going over the case study for Rent the Runway. What was your kind of background summary for it? Like, what was it?
Yeah. So basically, they wanted to figure out a way to provide women with designer dresses, so dresses that are typically really expensive to purchase. They wanted to find a way to provide those to women so they could, get them for special events or, whatever they wanted to, so they could have the opportunity to use those dresses, but not have to pay such an expensive price for the dresses. So they came up with the opportunity. They would buy designer dresses and they would rent them out to women so they could use them for different special events. And basically at this point, they're trying to decide if they're doing really well. They've had so many people making orders that they've even had a kind of a waiting list for a few weeks at a time for various, I don't remember the exact number, but there's quite a large number of people on the wait list, and they're trying to get that down, but they just don't have enough inventory. So they're kind of at the point where they're trying to decide, do we want to push our fundraising to bolster up the inventory, or should we just kind of keep steadily going with what we're doing, our original plan? And I think that's kind of the decision that they're left with at this point. And so we're just kind of evaluating which one of those options they should go with.
Right. Yeah, and like yeah, that's exactly what it is, because they're basically, what's her name? Jennifer Hyman. She's actually really smart. She went to some what's her name? Some Vaughn, crazy last name, lady, to kind of get some ideas and to kind of give her the pitch, and they ran with it, and they, like you said, they did really well. They have like 150,000 members.
Yeah.
Just after a year or whatever, or 6 months.
Right.
So exactly. Yep. And then, so the question I guess I would ask is, or the analysis would be, let's see. Yeah, like you said, just they're trying to figure out what they need to do. I think it's like, they need to boost up operations, or just pile up on inventory. I think one of the main issues that they ran into, the reason why they don't have enough inventory, is because they were using a manual system for their warehouse. So they're kind of having to scramble around. That's why they don't have the best inventory, because their operations aren't up to spec yet.
Right. Yeah, I think another thing that they do is, hopefully I'm understanding or remembering right, but I think they were sending 2 dresses with every rental. One is kind of like a backup, just in case the size wasn't quite right or something. I think that's a good idea, but that's probably also what's helping with the backlog. They're sending out 2 dresses per order, where they could be sending out 1 dress potentially. I think it's smart for them to do that, because it's kind of showing their customers that, like, hey, we want to make sure that it all fits well, it all works well for you. But I think that's also kind of contributing to their backlog. So I don't know how they could figure out a way around that, but potentially like try on both and send one back. I don't know. And maybe that might get things flowing a little bit quicker.
Right. Yeah. That is it could be a costly thing. I get the customer service behind it.
Right.
But like, there is a point where they probably should break away from that, just because they, like you said, it could be clogging up their inventory, or emptying their inventory. Because after a while, I think one thing they could do to avoid that is to, either have the exact measurements of the dress on the website, or like have a detailed description of like how it fits. Because some brands are fit looser, some fit tighter than like, the generic brands and stuff like that. So I think they should have detailed sizing instructions.
Right. Yeah, that could be helpful for sure.
So, were we supposed to go through the timeline part of that, or was that just part of the like individual analysis?
I think that's probably part of the individual analysis, but I think one thing that's maybe applicable to our analysis would be, was there any steps that they made that were kind of out of order? Should they done things a little bit differently? I think that for the most part, I was pretty impressed with the way that they went about things. They seemed to take the least expensive approach first, which kind of makes sense to me. Like they started out making cold calls to influential fashion designers, just kind of trying to schedule appointments. They weren't doing like mass marketing or anything like that. They weren't doing any major testing with consumers or anything. They just started out trying to set up appointments so that they could go do sales pitches to fashion designers to hopefully, get into the industry. And I think that was really smart of them to take that approach. And I think that's probably a big reason why they were so successful from the beginning, is because they got in with I don't remember who they got in with, but they got in with somebody that was able to kind of like boost them along and kind of give them some direction with it. So I think that was a smart move of them to start that way, kind of the cheaper route first and just start from the ground level.
Yeah. There's a whole section they surveyed the competition. I think that's also important.
Yeah, sure.
We've talked about that in past meetings, that they, knowing what the competition's all about, and how successful they are and what they do that could be tweaked, and what they could learn from. So
right.
So anything other than like their inventory, anything else that you find that they could have done differently?
I think that was the main thing that I saw. I mean, that seemed to be the biggest hindrance. I mean, the only other thing I saw in regards to their numbers were they charge an insurance money or an insurance, I guess, fee for every rental. And I'm kind of curious how much of that insurance money they actually use towards repairs or cleaning of the dresses. That might change their numbers a little bit. I'm trying to find how much they were actually charging for insurance. It's not that much per dress, I don't think. I think it's like $4. So it's not a ton, but I'm curious if they're actually spending that, or if they're spending more than that or less than that. That could change their numbers. I mean, if they're spending $20 on average per dress instead of $4, then obviously they need to increase that charge. So they didn't really talk much about evaluating that. They just kind of stated that that's what they charge for insurance. But I mean, my guess is those dresses, they were, between 50 and 1,500, depending on the dress. And I mean, if you destroy one of those dresses, I don't know if that $4 insurance isn't going to cover much. So I wonder how how applicable that is. That might not be a huge thing, but maybe something for them to look at further.
Yeah, that could be another means of profit or revenue, because they can, I mean, they probably could raise that price without most people really even caring, especially with how popular and
Right.
and accessible it is for people, that they can just do that,
Right, for sure.
So let's see, is there anything?
It does have a question here. They want us to talk about their business model.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of trying to read back quickly here through the case study to see what their business model was. So we can kind of highlight those. I don't know if you remember much about their business model.
Let's see their business model. So marketing. So basically, they market towards events like dances, school dances and weddings and stuff. So that's one way their business model was pushing towards is like the name says, rent the runway. Basically, you can be the center of attention because of your dress for a fair amount of money,
Right.
a good cost, and so
right. Yeah, I think that business model works. I think it's a good idea. And then as I'm kind of going through here, there were a couple other things that they seem to make a couple mistakes on, mainly in regards to like their website and things. I think they spent quite a bit of money on like a website handler, and really they just weren't on the same page with the website person, so they ended up spending a lot of money on that. So I mean, maybe they could have avoided those things by hiring the right people, or trying to just figure out how to do it themselves. I really did like how they did the market trials. I thought that was pretty cool, how they just kind of they invited a bunch of women to just try it out, just to see, how the business model would work in the public. And it seems like it worked really well. They had really good results. Like we talked about already, their inventory got all ordered out, and they needed more inventory. So I really liked how they kind of tested the water, so to speak, to see, if there was really a need there. And I think that's good for the company, so they can see, okay, is this business model going to work? And then also it kind of validates their business model to their investors or their partners, whoever they're working with, to kind of show them like, hey, this is a real test. This is really in demand. We can either just work better on making our operations improved, or we can really expand now because we know that it's a legit business, so we can move forward with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it basically was a unofficial launch for invited
Right.
people. So yeah, that definitely was helpful. Obviously, it didn't predict everything. They weren't able to. After they started, like you said, building their team, they found a guy. They found him off Craigslist or something. So they kind of
Right.
They probably could have looked elsewhere to find a more qualified person.
Right.
So yeah, that trial marketing works pretty good. So basically, to kind of, I guess, is that pretty much all that you had?
Yeah. I mean, I think my final decision is I think that they should accelerate their fundraising. I mean, obviously you don't want to have operational issues, but I think those will come in time. I think the quicker they can meet demands, they'll be in a better spot. I mean, I can see the risks behind accelerating the funding and maybe not having the operations all figured out. There could be some customer service issues or just some potential extra costs that they have to pay. But I think it's almost more detrimental as they're trying to expand their customer base. I think it's more detrimental for them to have insufficient, inventory, because if they don't have enough inventory, that their wait list, it might dwindle, it might start going down, but that's going to be because people aren't really interested in the product. Like, okay, I need a dress for this wedding that I'm going to go to, so I need it by this date. And oh wait, you know what? They put me on a 2-week waiting list, so I didn't get a chance to really try it on, or whatever other issues. I think it might cost them kind of reputation if they don't have enough inventory and they're having to wait for such a long time to fill orders. So I think they should push forward and accelerate the fundraising so they can meet demand.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true. When on my individual analysis, I guess I put that they should pursue operational improvements before raising more capital. So I guess your thought process is probably more revenue friendly, and that I think that definitely makes me rethink what I originally thought. But to an extent, I don't know. I don't think the scenarios that it gives us, I don't know if that would be considered like they have to do either or. They could probably do both in the real world.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. If they don't, it does the beginning of a business, you do have to kind of spin your wheels, per se, to kind of just build the momentum. You might not be making a lot of money, but at least you're building a reputation which will make you more money down the road, hopefully sooner than later. So I guess that's true. My thought process behind improving the operations was that they can have a stronger backbone. They will have, if they do that, it's almost could be a guarantee income, a greater inventory, so they can sell more or rent more, I guess. So I guess either way, that either one can be applicable. But yeah, you're probably right. They should build their name before anything else.
Yeah, I mean, your point's totally valid too. You want to have a good foundation for the company. I think that's totally valid. And I think you're right. I mean, in the real world situation, it may not be an either or decision. It may be more of a, okay, how much time do we focus on operations and how much time do we focus on accelerating fundraising? I mean, they may be able to do both at the same time. So, I mean, it may be kind of a non-issue for them, but yeah, I was kind of leaning towards maybe bolster up the inventory a little bit more and obviously continue to work on the operating stuff. But I'm just concerned that they'll lose, reputation, and they're just barely starting to build some momentum on getting the word out about them. I'm nervous they'll miss out on a lot of future customers. I don't know. And I would kind of, I guess my personality would be like, let's just fix the problems as they come up, which may not be the best attitude for it, but it'd kind of be like, yeah, I mean, if, a dress gets sent to the wrong place and the customer gets really upset because our operations weren't quite intact, like we can fix that, either offering some kind of discount or something else on another time. I don't know, but yeah, there's definitely risks in pushing forward with inventory, expanding, getting bigger quickly. That could be tough on the business. I mean, you got to have some kind of foundation. So that totally makes sense on what you were saying too.
Yeah. So cool. I guess the summary, we'll just kind of summarize for a couple minutes. Basically, here's the company. They have early on exponential growth with some, hiccups. If you're going to have hiccups, you want these ones because they're getting really popular. It's not like they're failing miserably, but they're having a lot of success, and they are having growing pains because of that. So the decision that they have to choose between is sticking with their original plan to pursue operational improvements in 2010 before raising more capital in 2011, or accelerating fundraising in order to expand inventory and product range, enabling the company to serve a broader set of customer segments. So I think both, both of us, we both had different choices. You had the first, the boost up inventory and raise capital, or raise money to cover capital. And I thought of, pursuing operational improvements, the first one. So either one is a it's a hard decision. Glad it's not me having to make that decision, but
yeah, I think we kind of came to the conclusion that really they shouldn't do one or the other. They should really do both. But that's probably what makes most sense, is to make sure their operations are improving, but at the same time, it probably makes sense to expand their inventory a little bit. So,
yeah. All right. That should be everything.
Cool. Thanks, man. If you wouldn't mind sending me the link via email, that'd be awesome.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Thanks, dude. Have a good weekend.
You too. See ya.